Hey everybody, Dave Weiss here with the Glue Bomb Show. Today I've got another Bill Campbell classic for you. This is another in the Silly Surfer series from Hawk. This one is called Hot Dogger Hangin' 10. It was a fun kit, I gotta tell you. I had a good time with this. Couple of issues, couple of things to look out for, but we're gonna look over that right now. So let's start off by seeing the finished product. And here he is. Now, this kit is pretty large, as you can see. Got that big wave, a fairly large surfer character on there. You got a seagull on his shoulder, a crab on his board. And I had a really good time with this. This is really a lot of fun. And I wanted to just go over a couple things with you. Number one, the wave. The wave is in 5 pieces, and I have to say, I had some pretty big seams with this one. A friend of mine recommended I use Milliput, and I tried it, and you saw a previous review on Milliput. It did work. It worked really well. But I have to give you a little bit of extra advice here, which is don't put it on thick. I put it on a little bit too thick, and yeah, I was able to smooth some of it with water, and that worked okay. But I ended up with some pretty large bumps. So I ended up taking a Dremel tool to this thing and taking a Dremel tool to it for quite a while, I might add. But fortunately, it's a wave. So if it's a little bumpy, it's a little bumpy. Around the edges where there was a pretty good seam along the edge of the wave, I compensated for that by just putting the Milliput on thick and sort of sculpting it into a white cap. And that did the trick. It's painted in I use Tester's rattle can for this. It was about a royal blue. I spray painted the whole wave blue, and then after that dried, I took a coat of light blue and put that over the top. While the light blue was still wet, I ran some dark blue streaking through it, kind of tried to follow the contours, and then did a bunch of highlighting with whites, and they were still blending in. It was wet on wet, and so you had this kind of really light pale blue on the edges of the wave and in here, and then I lettered it. You can't really see the lettering too well, and he's still pretty fresh with the drying, so I don't want to tilt him too much. But I just did a white over that, and then when that was thoroughly dry, there were a couple places where it went over a little bit. I just brush painted them, and so I took a blue wash about the same color as the wave, just put that over it, let it dry a little bit, and then wiped it off the white letters, and it came out pretty nicely. As far as the surfer himself goes, no surprises here. I used a burnt sienna wash over all the skin. That worked out really well. And also over the teeth. I should mention that I use this kind of uniform suntan color Tester's paint. And then for the nose, a little bit on the cheeks and the lips, I added just a little bit of red to that to kind of give him almost a sunburn look. For the hair, I used a burnt umber wash. I also followed that through on the crab, and I used a burnt umber wash on the board shorts as well because they were a little too shiny. This will get a clear coat on it eventually, but I'm out of clear paint if I want to be honest, and I wanted to get this video made this morning before I have to go to my office. As far as the seagull goes, I just spray painted him white and then did a very light blue wash over that so you could really see those nice feather details that the folks at Hawk, I'm assuming Hawk made the original molds, they sculpted into it, and it worked out really well. Now, there are a couple things to consider as you're putting this together. Number one is that wave, you're going to need to do some seam work on the wave, or at least I did. The other thing was I started to test fit this by slipping the surfboard just kind of slips into the wave, and I actually, of course, glued it there. But when I went to try to mount the surfer was not sticking to the board. He kept sort of rolling off, and I could see this wasn't going to work unless I glued the surfer to the surfboard before we put the surfboard in the wave. So that was really helpful. I scraped the paint off at the bottom of his feet, and right where his feet would go, I scraped a lot of that paint away as well. Scraped the paint away inside the wave and off the back of the surfboard so that the glue would get a really good adhesion. If I had it to do, if I was making the mold, I would have put some kind of locator pin in that shoulder for that seagull to sit on. As it is, he just sits on the arm. That took a little bit of, well, no, that took a lot of holding him in place until he was dry enough that I could let him go. But guys, overall, really fun kit, and that's good because model building is supposed to be fun. This one was a lot of fun. Now, believe it or not, I only have one more Silly Surfer left to go. It's going to be a little while till I get to that one because I have a few other projects going right now. But I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to be a little nostalgic, I think, when these are done because, you know, he's not doing anymore. So when they're done, they're done. And but man, these are a good time. They really are. And a nice simple build. You can, if you're built something complicated, it's nice to jump off and do something like this. Plus, if you love to paint, the sky's the limit on these. Again, I always try to follow pretty closely after Bill Campbell's artwork. However, in this one, I did make the surfboard yellow. It's pink on the box. But I didn't think that pink was going to contrast very well with the color I'm using on the flesh tone, so I went with the yellow instead. I think it looks good. I'm happy with it, and hope you enjoyed this. And if you did, please subscribe and share it with your friends. Take care. Have a great day. God bless.